Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we're looking at the Marvel Legends Captain America Civil War Wave Build-A-Figure Ant-Man, or Giant Man. It's not official that he's going to be Giant Man in the movie, but based on this figure, it's at least likely that it's going to happen. So, and he's bigger than the average figure, so it's probably technically Giant Man. Would have been cool to get a new Ant-Man figure personally, because the first one sucked and it wasn't even movie accurate, and this is a cooler looking outfit, so it would have been nice to get one in scale, but we didn't get it. We just got the Build-A-Figure, but that's also a good thing because it's an appropriate Build-A-Figure, and for the most part, it's pretty well done. So let's get him off the stand and take a closer look. Alright, so this guy stands about 10.5 inches tall, which makes him just about 26 centimeters, give or take. And so that's okay. It's a decent size for a Build-A-Figure. For comparison, you can see that Iron Man comes up to about his belly button or his elbow. So it's not small, but for Giant Man, it's pretty small. So it makes me wonder if they just made it this size to be not so big of a figure, and so they don't have to spend as much on it, or if he's only going to be, a little bit taller than Hulk in the movie. It's curious. We'll find out, I guess. For the most part, he's pretty well done. We have a decent amount of paint. You can see we have the regular red here, this kind of grayish red. We have lots of silver going throughout. And then that's about it, really, as far as paint. But the cool thing is, because this guy's all digitally sculpted, you have these different finishes in the plastic. So if we're down here at the boots, we have the flat parts, then we have the textured parts, and it creates the effect of having variation in color. So that's kind of good. The one real bad thing I have, or this figure has, that I have a problem with, is the red paint is really thick and almost glossy. So that's a bit of a distraction. It doesn't look that great, but it's not terrible, so that's alright. There is a little bit of blue here and there on the torso and head, so that's okay. And as you can see, the head has kind of a wash. I'm not certain if it's a wash or if it's just marbling. It looks like maybe both in the plastic, but it looks cool either way. I'm pretty sure in the movie, though, it was not like that. It was all just solid, like almost chromish. But we'll see. The goggles are translucent plastic with eyes painted behind them, so that's kind of cool. And like I said, mostly he's just pretty well done. His shoulders seem a bit narrow, but maybe that's the way it looks in the movie. I don't know. So as far as articulation goes, the head is on a hinged ball peg, so you can lean it back. You can see the hinge in there, and then the head can move around on the ball peg a little bit. But it doesn't have the best range. I mean, not while it looks natural anyway. So it's a little odd, but it's definitely good enough. You'll be able to make him look okay most of the time. The shoulders have decent range, but that's also a problem because the reason they have that decent range, focus over here, camera, instead of at the hand, come on, there we go, is because the shoulder cavity is kind of like hollow. It just doesn't look good. So that's really strange. The shoulder doesn't fill that joint at all, so I think all they needed wasn't to make the thing broader at all, it was just to make a bigger shoulder piece so that it filled that in and it didn't look so narrow. But you do get the range out of it, so I guess that's a good thing. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, and then of course your wrist swivel and hinge. This hand is for gripping, this hand is just a fist. The ab crunch, you get one notch back. It is sculpted underneath, but you get one notch back and like a half notch forward. Not the best range of motion. It looks okay because it is sculpted all the way around, but that's about it. And the way this joint is designed, it does give him kind of a potbelly look. They need to stop doing that. It doesn't look good. It just doesn't look right. You can't make this part square and then this part curve in because that makes this part look a lot fatter. It's a little bit of a distraction. Once you get imposed, it won't be a problem, but it is something worth noting. You do get the waist twist. The hips go pretty far forward. I mean, that's pretty good. They have to come out to the side just a little bit, but for the most part, it's okay. And then they do go out to the side really far too. So that's the kind of articulation we need on all the Legends. It's not like that's a particularly ugly hip joint. If they're not going to do the classic T-jointed ball hinge and they're going to stick with this design, it has to be like this because the range in motion needs to be there. And it is on this figure, so that's really good. We do get our thigh swivel, our double jointed knee, which looks pretty darn good. They did a nice job executing that, which, by the way, is another thing I want to point out. The knee, the joint is slightly different than what we've been seeing. The thigh and the calf are both rounded at the top, so that when you bend it, it's nice and smooth looking. You don't have any of these sharp edges, whereas on a mold like Bucky Cap, You see how they have that squared off bit by the knee joint so that when you bend it, you get that flat, that really flat look, and it looks weird. This part is what I'm talking about, so if you're not clear, that should be rounded like it is on this guy. It's so much better when they do that. It gives it a much more natural look. Very, very much better looking on this figure. And then lastly, we have our classic ankle hinge that goes forward and back. This is soft enough, and we have our ankle rocker. So again, it's not perfect, but for the most part, it's a pretty solid Build-A-Figure, and it's going to be a nice figure to have on display with the rest of your Avengers. Having him slightly taller than everyone else will be pretty cool. So there you go. I recommend you pick up this wave, guys. It's got some duds in it for sure, but some of the figures are pretty cool, and you get to build this guy, so you might as well grab it. It's available for pre-order at BBTS, so check out the link in the description below. And make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. In the meantime, keep collecting.